As we know, before AICHR was there, we have already faced a lot of human rights challenges in the regions. For example, is the issue of the rights of migrant workers. It becomes cross-border human rights issues, which involve member states who are the sending countries as well as the responsibility of the receiving countries. Another issue which is related on that is, of course, in the implication of this migration is on the issue of trafficking. Trafficking can also be coming out in the process of irregular migrations. And on top of that, this region, ASEAN, it is not a destination country for the so-called asylum seekers or boat people from conflict area in other parts of the world, from Afghanistan, from Sri Lanka, from Iraq, from any other countries. But these regions then receive quite a number, an increased number of this kind of vulnerable groups of people. This ASEAN region becoming the area of transit of these vulnerable people. And there is a very serious lack of framework of protection for these people. The other thing which is related to that is the aspect of the protection of children and women. It is, even in the migration context, almost 80% of the migrations in Southeast Asia are involving women. And the girls, they are also become the victims of traffickings. They also become abused when they are working and become an undocumented migrant workers. These are an example of pressing issue besides the other situation that we have on a hotspot, on an armed conflict, in an internal armed conflict in southern Thailand, in the Philippines. You might not call it armed conflict, but there is a very serious law enforcement problems in the country like Indonesia, the biggest democracy in South Asia, they say, in West Papua. And there's the issue of people at the border between Myanmar and Thailand, with a large numbers of people migrating because of the armed conflicts at the borders. So these are the people, the most pressing issues as an example in ASEAN. I think it is a very good step forward that ASEAN has finally established AICHR, a Commission of Human Rights in Southeast Asia. This has gone through a very long process, and it is the time that AICHR is there that it becomes a center, the primary job to increase the awareness of the peoples of ASEAN in cooperations with all stakeholders, the national human rights institutions, if there are any, the member states, also the civil society organizations, including the victims' organizations of human rights violations. So, as an institution, a new institution, an official organ of ASEAN with a primary job or task to increase the awareness, which is also part of the protection. Because when you are increasing the awareness, you are also increasing the awareness not only the people, but you're also increasing the awareness of the officials who are related with the fulfillment and the enforcement of the human rights in all aspects, the civil political rights as well as the economic and social rights. So combination of this awareness exercise is actually a form of protection, that you are actually becoming a preventive mechanisms, yeah, to avoid any further deterioration of a human rights situation in a particular member state or in some member state of ASEAN. As you know, AICHR, according to the term of reference, has 14 mandate. And to implement the 14 mandate, you also need some capacity and take time. So AICHR, as part of the activities, will also increase its capacities in terms of a dedicated secretariat filled with professional staff and expert. So AICHR will develop expertise as well as a regional human rights commission. And AICHR take up studies of the most pressing human rights issues that in this region. And these studies will be very much needed and important for the ASEAN ministerial meeting, ASEAN Minister Forum, to take up the recommendations that we are going to make. And another thing which is also important is AICHR become a center of coordination and alignment process of all other sectoral ASEAN bodies, which is related with both the protection, the promotion, as well as the fulfillment of human rights in the region. So there are very serious challenges in front of us, in front of AICHR, that I believe step by step AICHR will develop to become strong institutions with expertise, which will be known and familiar with the people, especially the vulnerable group in ASEAN.